About a year ago, I brought home an Alaskan Malamute puppy, and my excitement to have a dog was off the charts. I envisioned hiking, camping, and traveling with my furry companion. Since it was fall in Iowa and could get pretty cold, I decided to start researching cabin rentals. After some searching, I found an amazing cabin in Wisconsin on Airbnb. Tucked away in the woods, it was fully loaded with amenities like a hot tub, internet, pool table, and a great kitchen. The cabin was beautiful and surprisingly affordable to rent. The first time I visited this cabin, it was just me and my dog. I had an incredible time, hiking, cooking a delicious dinner, and getting some much-needed relaxation. I only stayed for one night, a quick getaway from work. After returning home, I couldn't help but share my fantastic experience with my friend Martha. She was eager to join me, and we planned a trip for the night before Halloween. On our journey, it was just Martha, my dog, and me. That night turned out to be a blast. We drank, cooked dinner, relaxed in the hot tub, and decided to watch scary movies, given the proximity to Halloween. As the night wore on and the drinks flowed, I found myself standing in the kitchen, convinced I saw Martha running down the basement stairs. Strangely, when I looked into the living room, there was Martha, calmly watching the movie on the couch. A bit freaked out, I chalked it up to the alcohol and brushed it aside. We eventually passed out late, and nothing else eventful occurred. The next morning, hungover but content, we decided to soak in the hot tub. Before heading out, I locked my dog in his crate. After about 15 minutes in the hot tub, I heard a bang inside the cabin, and my dog started barking. Alarmed, we rushed inside to find the kitchen in disarray. Cabinets were open, the refrigerator door and freezer doors were ajar, bar chairs were flipped, drawers were pulled out, and pans were strewn across shelves. Martha's phone, which was charging on the counter, lay unplugged on the floor. I couldn't fathom how this chaos occurred. My puppy couldn't have done it, and Martha and I had been outside together. It wasn't a break-in either. We were in the middle of nowhere, and the snow would have left footprints. Terrified and with no logical explanation, my skepticism about the paranormal began to waver. My dog seemed just as frightened, and we decided to leave soon after discovering the kitchen mess. Surprisingly, I stayed at the cabin multiple times afterward without any strange incidents. Maybe Halloween stirred up some spirits, making them want to be seen or heard. Perhaps, that night, I genuinely witnessed something paranormal. The cabin, being very old, has its own charm, and it's continually booked, gaining popularity. I noticed it's available again on Halloween. Considering my newfound belief in the paranormal, maybe I should go back for another eerie adventure. From the age of 6 until just before my 15th birthday, I lived in an old mountain cabin nestled into the side of a steep incline. This rustic abode, shared with my mom and stepdad, witnessed the bulk of my childhood. Our family was never alone. Various pets, including a memorable Rottweiler named Kayla, shared our mountain haven. Early on, peculiar occurrences began to unfold. The cabin's architecture featured a bridge connecting the top floor to the outdoors, a gateway from my first bedroom. A small balcony and a curtainless sliding glass door left me facing a pitch-black expanse each night, an unsettling sight for any child. As my parents left me to my own devices during their shopping trips, I started sensing strange phenomena in solitude. Whispers, footsteps, and even phantom voices calling my name would fill the air. Kayla, our loyal companion, would suddenly growl or bark at invisible entities, her reactions intensifying my unease. Seeking comfort, I was eventually moved downstairs to a warmer room closer to the fireplace, a birthday present from my parents. Yet, the eerie incidents persisted. The haunting whispers grew louder, footsteps paced beneath my bedroom, and Kayla's reactions became more pronounced. Around the age of 12 or 13, the activity escalated. I vividly recall reading ghost stories one evening when a booming male voice called my name. Bewildered, I sought my parents, only to discover they hadn't uttered a word. The summer nights brought a peculiar incident during my camping escapades. I fell asleep in my tent with a lantern on, only to awaken to a tucked-in sleeping bag and a turned-off lantern, events that defied logical explanation. A shift back upstairs to a front room with its own balcony marked another chapter. Dusk brought a haunting encounter when, descending the stairs for dinner, I glimpsed a faceless woman in a black dress pressing her hand against the glass. Her skull-like visage chilled me to the bone, prompting me to have Kayla accompany me through the night. As I left the cabin at around 15 for reasons unrelated to the paranormal, the encounters persisted until the end. Whispering and pacing footsteps echoed through the living room below my bedroom. A last chilling vision involved a hooded, transparent figure on the balcony. Reflecting on these haunting experiences, my mom and I are convinced the house was haunted, a belief not shared by my stepdad, the skeptic in the family. This divergence in perspective is not uncommon when it comes to matters of the supernatural. Even today, we all acknowledge the lingering presence that colored our years in that mountain cabin, a testament to the inexplicable and the enduring mysteries of our past. When I was growing up in Pennsylvania until I was nearly 12, my countdown to the day I could finally go hunting consumed me. That magic age was the threshold for venturing into the woods with a rifle, and I couldn't wait. However, life had different plans for me as my family relocated to Florida. The silver lining? Hunting opportunities still awaited me in the Sunshine State. In Pennsylvania, I lived in the heart of the countryside, our address a simple 1692 over to Stanley Road. My closest friends lived just down the street, and our favorite hangout spot was a cabin atop a hill, surrounded by trees and a berm pile. It was our haven for epic Nerf battles, manhunt games, and whatever other adventures we concocted. One memorable night, my buddy invited a few friends and cousins to join us for marshmallow roasting and a game of manhunt. We started with a group of 13, but the numbers dwindled to 10 as the night progressed. Amid the darkness, our 5v5 manhunt game intensified. Two friends and I, being the fastest runners, found ourselves as the last remaining players on our team. Realizing our dire situation, we attempted a jailbreak but lost one friend in the process. It was just Lewis and me against a formidable trio from the other team. As we strategized and pursued, we were accused of cheating by the opposing team. Perplexed, we examined our surroundings. Both sides of the playing field were similarly wooded, with no apparent advantage. Yet, as we chased a member of the opposing team away, something strange happened. I spotted Lewis running in the same direction as someone else from the opposing team. Seizing the opportunity, I cut behind Lewis to surprise our target. However, upon emerging from behind him, I found an empty space, no trees, no scarecrows, no opponents. It felt like someone from the other team was hiding on our side, waiting to tag us when we crossed over. The game reached a standoff with only 2 players on each side. We managed to capture one opponent, but the mystery lingered. Questioning the other team revealed no answers, and we assumed it was a prank back at the cabin. After cooking hot dogs and marshmallows, we noticed someone approaching the hill. Though hard to discern in the dark after staring at the fire, at least 4 of us saw the figure. We waited for them to join us, but after half an hour, no one arrived. Curiosity getting the better of us, we embarked on an investigation. Our flashlight-aided search revealed no one between us and the cabin, but we heard the cabin door slam shut. A feeling of unease crept over us as we regrouped, and we decided to head back to my friend's house. The group split, with 6 opting for the safety of the house and 4, including myself, choosing to confront the mysterious intruder. Equipped with a single flashlight, we ventured into the night. At the edge of the woods, we heard someone moving stealthily through the underbrush. Assuming it was Lewis's uncle playing a prank, we split up to flush him out. Suddenly, a low, eerie rumble froze us in our tracks. Flashlights revealed nothing. Further investigation yielded no results, and with it being past 2 a.m., we heard a noise at the edge of the clearing. Expecting our friends, we turned around to see a person hiding behind a tree. A palpable sense of dread washed over me, and we circled wide to avoid the mysterious figure. Upon returning to the clearing, we discovered our friends were not responsible for the eerie encounter. Tensions escalated when we heard a sound from upstairs, though Lewis's house had no second floor. Armed with a pellet gun, we went outside and illuminated a black silhouette leaping off the roof. The next day, we learned that a cow had been killed and dismembered in the cabin after we left. The incident left us with unanswered questions and a profound sense of fear. To this day, I can't shake the memories of that night, a haunting chapter from my 11-year-old self's encounters with the unknown. My friends and I had planned this remote cabin getaway, nestled far away from civilization. The cabin, belonging to one of my friend's cousins, was situated in the heart of the wilderness, a good 3 to 4 days hike from the nearest parking spot. Unfortunately, work obligations prevented me from joining them at the scheduled time. Undeterred, I decided to embark on the journey alone, knowing full well that I'd have to camp overnight en route. The trail, challenging and winding, snaked its way through dense woods and challenging terrains. The latter part of the journey, particularly treacherous, was strongly advised against during the night. Still, my excitement overshadowed any concerns. I had never camped alone before, and the prospect of spending a night amidst nature's solitude intrigued me. As the day unfolded, I found myself in the midst of the woods with the sun gradually bidding its farewell. The eerie silence of the wilderness enveloped me as I set up my camp in a small clearing, approximately 40 feet across. The anticipation of a night alone in the woods kindled a mix of thrill and apprehension. With a crackling campfire and a small one-person tent pitched, I proceeded with the routine camping rituals, cooking hot dogs over an open flame and indulging in the quintessential s'mores. Hours passed, and darkness descended upon the woods. The mid-autumn season meant shorter days, and soon I found myself in the quietude of the night. Amidst the crackling of the dwindling fire, I started to sense something moving at the edge of the clearing. Initially dismissing it as the usual sounds of woodland creatures, my indifference waned as the movement persisted. The unseen presence seemed to be circling the clearing, each lap deliberate and measured. After 4 or 5 rounds, curiosity overcame me, and I decided to investigate. As I rose, the noise ceased abruptly, replaced by the distant rustling of something retreating through the woods. Shrugging it off as a curious fox that had been spooked, I returned to my campsite, convinced it was nothing to be concerned about. Deciding it was time to retire for the night, I doused the fire and entered my tent. In the hushed darkness, I lay there, hovering between sleep and wakefulness. This twilight state often brought about peculiar sounds, so when a voice reached my ears, I initially dismissed it as a product of my half-asleep mind. The whisper, just above audible, was indecipherable, either in a language unfamiliar to me or spoken in such a way that comprehension eluded me. As I lay there, listening intently, the whispers persisted. Something about the voice felt otherworldly, sending shivers down my spine. Suddenly, a distinct noise disrupted the whispers, a hand pressing into the fabric of my tent near my foot. Panic surged through me as I sat up swiftly, heart pounding in my chest. The intruder outside my tent seemed to bolt away, crashing through the underbrush at full speed. Shaken and wide awake, I hesitated before unzipping my tent and shining my flashlight into the surrounding darkness. To my bewilderment, there was nothing to be seen. No lingering presence, no trace of the mysterious visitor. I half expected to find a bloody handprint on my tent, a macabre testament to the bizarre encounter, but the fabric remained unblemished. Despite the lack of evidence, I couldn't shake the feeling that I wasn't alone in the woods. The moonlight cast eerie shadows, and every rustle of leaves amplified my unease. Resolving not to spend another moment in that unsettling solitude, I decided to abandon my camp at the break of dawn. The night felt interminable, each passing minute weighed down by an unseen presence that lingered in my consciousness. With the first light of morning, I wasted no time in packing up my camp and hastily making my way towards the cabin. The treacherous trail seemed less daunting in the daylight, yet the memory of the night's events loomed over me. Arriving at the cabin, I was greeted by the puzzled expressions of my friends, who couldn't fathom my early arrival. Unable to fully articulate the strange encounter, I simply recounted the night's events, leaving out the inexplicable whispers and the phantom hand on my tent. Skepticism flickered in their eyes, but a shared unease settled upon the group as we exchanged glances. As the day unfolded, the strange incident became a topic of discussion. Some speculated about nocturnal wildlife, attributing the sounds to the mysteries of the woods. Others shared local tales of the supernatural, weaving a tapestry of folklore that added an extra layer of eeriness to the experience. The remainder of the trip unfolded without incident, but the peculiar night in the woods left an indelible mark on my psyche. I couldn't shake the feeling that I had crossed paths with something beyond the realm of explanation. The camaraderie of my friends and the rustic charm of the remote cabin provided a comforting backdrop, yet the woods retained an air of mystery. Back home, the memory of that solitary night lingered, haunting my thoughts in quiet moments. I found myself reflecting on the thin veil that separates the known from the unknown, the rational from the inexplicable. Was it a trick of the mind, a manifestation of primal fears in the heart of the wilderness, or had I truly brushed against the supernatural? In the following weeks, I delved into local lore, seeking answers or parallels to my strange encounter. Tales of elusive forest spirits, shapeshifters, and ancient mysteries intertwined with the narratives of those who had ventured into the deep woods. While skepticism prevailed in the rational recesses of my mind, a lingering curiosity urged me to explore the enigmatic aspects of the natural world. The experience left me with a newfound respect for the unseen forces that inhabit the wilderness. Nature, in all its beauty and majesty, conceals pockets of mystery that elude the understanding of even the most seasoned adventurers. The remote cabin trip became a pivotal chapter in my life, sparking an ongoing fascination with the unknown and a recognition of the thin veil between the tangible and the ethereal. As seasons changed and time moved forward, the memory of that night remained etched in my mind. The inexplicable encounter served as a reminder that, in the vast expanse of nature, there are realms yet to be explored and mysteries that defy explanation. The woods, once a backdrop for adventure and camaraderie, now held a subtle undercurrent of the uncanny, a whisper of secrets that transcended the boundaries of ordinary understanding. Whether a manifestation of the subconscious or a genuine brush with the supernatural, the night in the remote woods became a defining moment, shaping my perspective on the mysteries that lie beneath the surface of the familiar. The journey, both physical and metaphysical, continued, each step echoing with the resonance of that solitary night and the enigmatic whispers that lingered in the shadows of the trees. As a former scout leader, I have a tale from one of our New Year camping trips in Canada, where temperatures dropped to a bone-chilling -20 to 30 degrees Celsius. Seeking refuge in lodges, our nightly routine involved rounding up the scouts and escorting them to a lodge with the essential amenities, albeit lacking toilets. During one particular trip, I found myself herding a group of lively scouts, including two particularly immature kids who were taking their sweet time getting ready. Annoyed, I sent the rest of the scouts ahead and vowed to catch up once the duo stopped fooling around. Minutes later, we were en route, with most scouts having completed their nightly rituals. Upon entering the lodge, I discovered the scouts congregating around a vending machine in the hallway, just across from the toilets. Accompanied by the two stragglers, I inquired if anyone was in the bathroom, recognizing Jay's voice in response. Convinced all was well, I proceeded to brush my teeth, unaware that this seemingly innocuous moment would soon turn into the infamous poop monster incident. After a few minutes, I checked in again, but this time received no response. Puzzled, I asked once more, only to hear Walter's voice assuring me everything was fine. It was at this point that I dismissed the earlier discrepancy as a misunderstanding on my part. As time passed and my two challenging charges finished their preparations, I repeated my query. This time, silence. Alarmed, I instructed the two kids to check the stalls. To their shock, all 8 stalls were empty. Panic set in, and the two kids began to fret. It was time to regroup in the hallway. To my surprise, both Jay and Walter, the voices we thought we heard in the bathroom, were standing in the hallway, denying any entry into the washroom after my arrival. To this day, our scout squadron affectionately refers to this bizarre and mysterious incident as the poop monster story. The squadron always referred to it as the poop monster incident. Our family, along with 4 others, owned a hunting cabin deep in the woods of Pennsylvania. When hunting season ended, the cabin transformed into a vacation spot for these families. We often congregated there during the 4th of July weekend. One year, my parents decided to take me, my uncle, 3 years older than me, and my 2 childhood friends up to the cabin for Easter. My parents opted to go out to the bar for a bit, leaving us kids at the cabin alone. The youngest among us was 7 at the time, and the oldest was 14. It was cold, and 8 inches of snow covered the ground. The sun had started to set, casting an orange glow on the snowy landscape. The 4 of us gathered around the table in front of the wood stove, playing Uno. Several battery-operated lamps were strategically placed around the cabin, both inside and outside, illuminating the walkway for my parents when they returned. As we finished our game, preparing to take the 30-yard walk to the outhouse, we began to hear the snow crunch below the window. As kids, we felt a bit uneasy but reassured ourselves that it was probably just a deer. Finally, after some coaxing, my uncle agreed to peek out the window. He claimed to see nothing, but as soon as he sat back down, a low grunt and a heavy creaking sound echoed from the front porch. Before my parents left, they had given my uncle the keys to the gun cabinets and a rundown on which gun to use in case of trouble. True to his role as protector, he armed himself just as heavy breaths and paws pressed against the front porch. The heavy paws transformed into repeated crashes into the front doors, sending shivers down our spines. In a panic, all 4 of us sprinted upstairs, locking the wooden door as if it could provide any protection from the 400-pound black bear attempting to break in. 10 agonizing minutes passed before we heard the front door give way. The bear was now inside the cabin, rummaging through the downstairs. As a small, frightened child, those moments felt like an eternity until, finally, the bear left. Miraculously, it never attempted to ascend the stairs after us. When our parents returned, relieved and unaware of the terror we had experienced, they never left us alone for such an extended period again. The incident left an indelible mark on our family, etching itself into the fabric of our memories. Every creak of a door, every rustle in the woods, would forever be tinged with the haunting echoes of that Easter at the cabin. As I reflect on that harrowing night, the details come rushing back, vivid and unsettling. The woods, blanketed in a pristine layer of snow, seemed serene as we huddled around the wood stove, playing Uno to stave off the cold. The soft glow of battery-operated lamps cast dancing shadows on the walls. Little did we know, nature's tranquility would soon give way to an unexpected and life-altering encounter. The decision to spend Easter at the cabin had seemed like a whimsical adventure, a break from routine. My parents, perhaps overly trusting in the safety of our secluded haven, left us in the care of my uncle, armed with the keys to the gun cabinets and a sense of responsibility. Little did he know that his role as protector would be put to the test in the most unexpected way. The first inkling of unease came in the form of a distant crunch, barely audible above the crackling of the wood stove. The sound, like the footsteps of an unseen intruder, made us exchange uneasy glances. Rationalizing it as the presence of a harmless deer, we dismissed our apprehensions and continued our game. Yet, nature has a way of unsettling the most composed minds. The crunch persisted, growing louder and more pronounced. A subtle discomfort permeated the room, and it was decided, my uncle would investigate. As he peered out the window into the gathering darkness, his initial report was reassuring, nothing but the stillness of the snowy woods. However, relief was short-lived. A low grunt and a heavy creaking sound shattered the calm, emanating from the front porch. The air thickened with tension as we grappled with the realization that our isolation was not as secure as we had believed. Panic set in, and in a unanimous decision, my uncle armed himself with the keys to the gun cabinets. The next moments unfolded in a surreal sequence. Heavy breaths and thunderous paws on the front porch announced an unwelcome visitor. The bear, a colossal and intimidating force of nature, had decided to make our cabin its playground. The heavy paws transformed into relentless crashes against the front doors, each one a gut-wrenching reminder of our vulnerability. In a frantic bid for safety, all four of us fled upstairs, our hurried footsteps echoing through the wooden structure. We locked the door, a feeble attempt at barricading ourselves from the impending threat. The realization of a 400-pound black bear testing the limits of our refuge sank in, and fear gripped us. 10 agonizing minutes passed in a state of suspended terror. The crashes against the front door continued, the relentless force of the bear threatening to breach our fragile defenses. In those moments, time seemed to stretch infinitely, each second an eternity. We clung to the hope that the door, though flimsy, would somehow withstand the onslaught. Then, a deafening crash, the front door succumbed to the bear's relentless assault. The beast was now inside the cabin, its presence felt in every echoing footstep. The downstairs, once a sanctuary, became a chaotic battleground between us and the formidable intruder. As a small child, the minutes stretched into an eternity. The sounds of the bear rummaging through the cabin, the fear of a confrontation, the uncertainty of our fate, it all melded into a nightmarish blend of emotions. The wooden sanctuary that had provided warmth and comfort now harbored an uninvited and terrifying guest. Yet, inexplicably, the bear showed no interest in pursuing us upstairs. It roamed the lower level for what felt like an eternity but eventually left without venturing beyond the staircase. The relief that washed over us was palpable, a mix of gratitude and disbelief. We had survived an encounter with nature's force, a primal struggle between human and beast, and emerged intact. When our parents returned, blissfully unaware of the ordeal we had endured, the cabin's tranquility was restored. The bear had left, leaving behind only the echoes of its powerful presence. The keys to the gun cabinets, wielded as a symbol of protection, were returned to their place, a testament to the unpredictability of life in the woods. From that day forward, our family's approach to trips to the cabin changed. What was once a carefree escape became a place tinged with caution and respect for the untamed wilderness. The poop monster incident became a story passed down through the years, a reminder of the thin veil separating the comforts of civilization from the raw power of nature. In the end, the cabin remained a haven, but the illusions of invulnerability were shattered. The woods, once a backdrop to childhood adventures, now held the weight of that fateful Easter night. And as we continued to gather at the cabin, the flickering lamps casting shadows on the walls, the memory of the bear lingered, a silent reminder that in the heart of nature, survival requires both resilience and a deep understanding of the wild. Last year, my family and I embarked on a memorable vacation to the enchanting Blue Ridge Mountains of Georgia. Our chosen abode was a spacious cabin nestled near McCaseville, surrounded by the breathtaking beauty of nature. Little did I know that this idyllic getaway would be marred by a series of unsettling events that would leave me questioning the very fabric of my reality. Picture this: a vast cabin perched on a sloping terrain, adorned with dense trees, steep inclines, and the soothing melody of rivers and streams nearby. While there were other cabins scattered around, the closest one was approximately 150 yards away, and another stood about twice that distance on the opposite side. The isolation, coupled with the natural beauty, created an ambience of serenity and seclusion. The cabin itself was a labyrinth of interconnected spaces. Stepping through the front door, you would be greeted by the warmth of the living room on the left. To the right, my room and the basement beckoned, with a mere 8 inches separating the doors. Ascending to the upper floor, you would discover my parents' room, a bathroom, and an intriguing locked door. What struck me as odd were the decorations: a peculiar painting in the living room, an upstairs picture reminiscent of ancient folklore, and a broken frame in the basement, a silent witness to time's passage. Adding to the enigma were 2 locked doors, unlike any others in typical Airbnb rentals. These weren't your standard bathroom or bedroom locks; they seemed to be bolted from the inside, provoking my curiosity but fading into the background of my attention. Now, let's fast forward to the night of the 22nd, just on the cusp of my 16th birthday. Eagerly counting down the minutes with close friends over a Discord call, I found myself interrupted by my dog, Blue. A 90-pound pit bull with the energy of a much smaller dog, Blue was usually exuberant, but this time was different. Resting on my bed, she abruptly started scratching at the door, an unusual behavior that set the stage for an unforeseen series of events. Curiosity overcame me, and I took Blue outside to relieve herself. Yet, her demeanor was off; she was on edge, uncharacteristically tense. The backyard, veiled in darkness despite the feeble porch light, held an invisible presence that seized Blue's attention. As I attempted to guide her back inside, a bizarre noise shattered the night, a distorted imitation of a frog, unnaturally loud and unsettlingly human-like. Blue, known for her gentle disposition, transformed into a growling sentinel, fixated on the unseen source of disturbance. Fear took hold as the unnatural sound echoed once more, this time emanating from the left, near a trail flanked by wooden logs. Hastily retreating inside, I locked the door behind us, the peculiarity of the situation hanging in the air like an unspoken question. With an uneasy night behind me, morning brought an unexpected revelation. Despite securing the basement door the previous night, I awoke to find it wide open, swinging as if beckoning me into the depths below. Struggling to make sense of this inexplicable breach, I realized that this particular door could only be unlocked from the other side, and none of my family members had ventured into the basement. Undeterred but increasingly unnerved, I pressed on with my birthday celebrations, hoping the day's festivities would cast a veil over the mysterious events of the night before. However, the enigma persisted, casting a shadow over what should have been a joyous occasion. As we prepared to depart on the evening of the 23rd, my mind couldn't shake the unsettling occurrences. The time had come to retrieve a tether from the backyard, an ordinary task that would prove to be anything but routine. Armed with a flashlight and a sense of trepidation, I ventured into the yard, only to be met once again by that disconcerting noise, this time uncomfortably close and to my immediate right. The bugs, usually the unrivaled orchestra of the night, fell silent as this unnaturally human-like sound pierced the air. The fear I had suppressed until then surged forward, urging me to abandon any notions of bravery. I bolted back inside, slamming the door shut and drawing the blinds, retreating into the safety of the cabin's interior. That night, sleep eluded me. I lay awake, ears attuned to every creak and rustle, half expecting the bizarre sound to return. As dawn broke, I feigned waking up naturally, my mind grappling with the inexplicable events that had unfolded during our sojourn in the Blue Ridge Mountains. In the aftermath, my quest for answers led me down various online rabbit holes, but logical explanations remained elusive. If anyone out there can shed light on what could have produced that eerie noise and manipulated the cabin's locked doors, I implore you to reach out. The mystery lingers, an indelible mark on what should have been an unforgettable vacation.